You know, that moment, that exact moment, you're sitting across the table, maybe it's a nice dinner, maybe you're just at home paying bills, and everything feels solid. You know, you've got the shared jokes, the plans for next summer, that easy comfort. But then money comes up, and suddenly that solid ground just shifts. Maybe their card declines, and they brush it off with this, like, too loud laugh. Oh, the bank is being stupid again. Or you ask, super gently, hey, what's our total debt picture before we sign this lease together? And they just snap. Why are you interrogating me? Don't you trust me? Or maybe they ask you to co-sign something big, something they really need. And you just feel that deep internal panic, the feeling that says something is profoundly off here.
And what happens next is almost universal. You silence it, you tell yourself, I'm overreacting, I'm being too intense.
I'm being controlling.
I'm being controlling, exactly. Money is stressful for everyone. I shouldn't be like this. You swallow that knot in your stomach and you try to move on. But I can tell you, as a therapist and a financial counselor, those ignored knots, those early flickers of intuition, they almost always come back. Years later, people sit in my office and they're reeling from financial infidelity, massive hidden debt, or this really coercive control. And the biggest regret they have is always, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know those small signs were actually flags.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission is to give you the language, the framework, to stop minimizing those feelings. We are taking a deep, practical dive into relationship money red flags. And the crucial insight we really want you to walk away with is this. Money in relationships is a Kelligist. It's rarely just about who's better at spreadsheets. It is fundamentally about trust. It's about respect, power, and safety. It's about whether you feel secure enough to build a shared future with this person. And to guide us through this really complex intersection of emotions and, well, assets, I am so thrilled to welcome our expert today. He's a licensed therapist and a certified financial counselor based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he really specializes in helping people navigate the aftermath of money conflict, money lies, and these financial power imbalances. Thank you so much for joining us for this crucial conversation.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here and talk about this because, like you said, these signs are so often dismissed until they cause just catastrophic damage. We need to normalize talking about the financial foundation of a relationship with, the same seriousness we talk about fidelity or emotional connection.
I completely agree. It feels like society gives us tons of permission to talk about romantic chemistry, but zero permission to talk about credit scores. And that imbalance is exactly what lets these red flags just grow.
That's exactly right. We see transparency as unromantic, but really, it's the ultimate expression of commitment.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to clarify what we even mean when we say a money red flag. Because the first thing I hear from people is often some version of, my partner spends way too much on hobbies. Is that a red flag?
Right.
Where do we draw that line between just imperfect money habits and a genuine threat to the relationship?
That is a critical distinction to make. So, a money red flag is not just having different financial styles. It's not that one of you is a saver and the other is a spender. It's not even, occasionally arguing about who bought what. Those are workable differences. I call those yellow flags. They just need communication compromise. A true red flag is it's a pattern of behavior around money that actively threatens trust, safety, or respect. The focus shifts entirely away from the dollar amount and lands squarely on honesty and power dynamics. Are they telling you the truth? And are they using money as a tool to control you?
Okay, so let me see if I'm getting this right. If my partner buys, say, a $400 gadget that I think is totally frivolous, but they paid for it with money they earned and they told me about it.
Yeah.
So that's just a personality difference we have to navigate.
Right.
But if they buy that same gadget and they pay for it with money they secretly pulled from our shared savings, and then they lie about it when I ask where the money went, that's the red flag.
Precisely. The act of spending is so much less important than the act of lying or hiding. The red flag isn't the imperfect choice. It's the pattern of deception or manipulation or coercion that's used to make those choices happen or, to control the other person.
Okay, let me throw a common listener challenge in here.
Yeah.
When we talk about these differences, the saver versus the spender, a lot of people worry that they are actually the controlling ones.
Ah, yes.
Like if I'm constantly criticizing my partner's spending, even for small things, am I the one creating a red flag dynamic, even if they aren't hiding anything from me?
That's a very insightful question, and it really speaks to the complexity of partnership, right? If you're the saver and your anxiety about money causes you to constantly monitor and interrogate and shame your partner for minor, agreed upon spending, then yes, that itself can create a control dynamic that undermines safety and respect. A healthy relationship needs mutual boundaries. If the saver makes the spender feel like a child every time they buy a coffee, that's not good financial management. That's emotional control. That's rooted in the saver's own anxiety.
So sometimes the red flag isn't even about the money itself, but about the hostile communication around the money. That's a really good point.
Exactly. In healthy relationships, conflict exists, of course, but respect remains. When respect is violated through, interrogation or shaming, that's when we move into red flag territory, regardless of who has the better credit score.
To really anchor this for people, you've been so generous to share a personal experience about learning this the hard way. Can you tell us a bit more about what that process of self-deception and then eventual discovery felt like?
It was intensely painful, and it's really why I have so much empathy for people who ignore these signs. In my 20s, I was preparing for a really serious commitment, moving in with someone I deeply cared about. And the issues weren't huge at first, just little things. I'd ask these basic necessary questions like, hey, what's your plan for your existing debts?
Right, the foundational questions you have to ask before you merge your lives.
Right. And the answers were always vague. Oh, it's just student loans, they're under control, or don't worry, I'll handle it. There were never any numbers, no specific plans, just assurances. Then came the card declines at restaurants, which were always blamed on a bank glitch or some processing error. The cumulative effect was just this low-grade, persistent anxiety. But the really damaging part was the internal narrative I built to suppress that anxiety. I remember thinking, I don't want to be the stereotype of the paranoid, controlling partner. I should trust them. That's what love means. They're just bad at admin. I'm good at admin, so I should just step up and manage it quietly. This self-talk was all designed to prioritize keeping the peace over financial reality.
Yeah, that societal pressure to be the cool, easygoing partner just completely overrides the instinct for self-protection.
Yeah, absolutely. So we moved in, and it was only after our finances became legally tangled, rent, shared utilities, that I accidentally discovered the scale of the deception. It wasn't just a few forgotten bills. It was multiple maxed out high interest credit cards, a completely concealed personal loan, and bills that had gone to collection agencies that were now, legally tied to our address. All of it hidden.
Wow. The shock isn't just the dollar amount, it's the realization that the person you thought you knew, the foundation you thought was so solid, was actually a carefully constructed lie. What was the emotional cost of that betrayal?
The financial cleanup was awful, but the emotional cost was just devastating. It wasn't about the debt. It was realizing that trust had been fundamentally compromised. Every previous conversation, every assurance, it all felt like a lie. And the greatest damage was the self-doubt it caused. I asked myself, how could I have been so blind? And does this person actually respect me if they were willing to risk my future like this? That feeling of betrayal is the true consequence of a money red flag being realized.
Thank you for sharing that so deeply. It really shows why we ignore the signs. It's easier to live with that vague anxiety than to confront a potentially devastating truth.
And that's the point. We need to stop seeing financial transparency as rude and start seeing it as required for mutual respect and a sense of partnership. The goal here is clarity, not instant judgment. We want you to stop suppressing your intuition.
Perfectly put. Okay, let's start moving from that initial anxiety to some actionable clarity by looking at specific behaviors. So this next part focuses on those flags that crop up when you're dating seriously or discussing big next steps like moving in, getting engaged, things like that. These are so often easy to excuse away because the emotional investment is high, but the legal commitment is still low.
And that's precisely why they matter so much. These early behaviors are previews of future patterns. Okay, let's start with the first one we identified, total secrecy or avoidance. What does this actually look like in practice when you're talking about a future together? It's the consistent shutdown. Once conversations about moving in or marriage become routine, you're talking about joint planning basic money questions should be easy to answer. If you ask about loans or how they handle bills or their credit history and the partner responds with defensiveness or anger or mockery, that's a red flag. For instance, you might ask something like, okay, to figure out our housing budget, what's a realistic amount you can contribute each month after your existing loan payments? A healthy response is specific, or at least it's willing. That's a good question. I'm paying $500 on my car loan, so I can commit X to rent. Let's look at the numbers together.
And the red flag response. It's the deflection. Why do you need to know that it's handled? Or the anger. Are you saying I can't take care of myself? This is private.
Or the joke one. Yeah. Yes, or the joke. Oh, are you suddenly my accountant? Don't worry your pretty little head about it.
Ugh, That joke response is particularly insidious because it uses humor to enforce a boundary of secrecy, and it makes the person asking feel both nosy and humorless.
Exactly. The issue isn't the debt itself. It's the absolute refusal to share information that is necessary for joint planning. Partnership requires transparency, and secrecy shows a lack of commitment to that partnership on a really foundational level. Okay, moving on to the next sign. Constant chaos with zero ownership. We all have periods of chaos, but you really emphasize that zero ownership part. Why is that specific pairing so dangerous? Because chaos without ownership signals a deep-seated unwillingness to take responsibility for one's life. Someone who goes through a period of tough financial luck but says, "This is rough, I'm behind, but I'm calling the creditors and reducing my spending," is showing maturity and effort. The red flag partner is always a victim. Their card declines because the bank is a scam. The bill payment was late because the mail system is broken. They're constantly borrowing small amounts from you, which are almost never repaid because their boss is out to get them and delayed their paycheck.
So the underlying pattern is that their messy situation becomes your responsibility to manage or support or just financially patch up.
And it's exhausting. You end up not just dealing with the financial consequences, but the emotional labor of constantly hearing justifications and managing their crisis. You are dating a financial black hole. There's no plan, no effort, just an expectation that the world, and eventually you, will absorb their mistakes.
Can you give us a contrast? Like, what does a green flag look like when someone is struggling with financial chaos?
A green flag is humility and clarity. It's, "Hey, I had a medical emergency last year and my credit took a huge hit. I'm on a really tight budget to clean this up, but I want to be totally honest with you about where I stand so we can plan appropriately." That's maturity. The chaos is there, but the ownership transforms it from a red flag into a shared challenge. That's such a powerful difference. One is an attempt at partnership, the other is an expectation of management.
Okay, the third early flag is pressure to overspend or live beyond your means. This one can feel like a love language, which makes it really hard to identify as a problem.
It absolutely does. This partner often romanticizes expensive living. They consistently push you to participate in an unaffordable lifestyle, and they use emotional manipulation to enforce that spending. It undermines your long-term stability in favor of their short-term ego or desire for luxury. This can manifest as the guilt trip script. "If you really love me, you'd want to come on this last-minute European trip." Or the shame script. "Why are you being so cheap? None of my friends are this obsessed with budgeting." They make your responsible decision-making feel like a moral failure on your part.
And the key is the pressure.
Right.
If they just like expensive things and they pay for them, that's fine. But if they insist you join them and make you feel bad for having financial boundaries, that's where the flag pops up.
Yes. They create a psychological climate where bringing up your budget feels embarrassing or wrong. They may never suggest low-cost alternatives. They might get visibly annoyed if you suggest a picnic instead of a five-star restaurant. They are actively trying to erode your boundaries to match their unsustainable spending habits.
That is such a preview of future conflict. If they won't respect your budget now, they certainly won't respect a joint budget later. Okay, the fourth early flag is the high-stakes one. Early attempts to access your money or credit. This one should immediately set off the danger alarms.
It really should. These are requests that carry immediate, long-term legal risk for you, especially before there's a deeply established commitment. This includes asking you to co-sign a loan for a car or a personal loan, putting a credit card entirely in your name for their use, or asking you to transfer large sums to help them out with a promise of repayment that just never happens. The risk here is catastrophic. If you co-sign a loan, the bank doesn't care about your relationship status. You are legally responsible. If they default, it damages your credit score and you have to pay the debt.
And the emotional manipulation that often comes with this is that they wrap the request in declarations of love. "If you trust me, you'll help me with this."
Exactly. They weaponize the trust you're building. They try to equate love with financial risk. And the reality is, a financially healthy, mature person will respect your need to protect your credit and your future, even if they're temporarily struggling. Let's circle back to that common listener concern: debt and bad credit. If someone has large student loans or poor credit from past issues, how do you assess if that's a red flag or just life history. We have to separate the historical financial situation from the integrity and communication around it. Debt itself is neutral. The red flag is the hiding of the debt or the refusal to address it once you're serious. A green flag is, I have $50,000 in debt for my business, but I've consolidated it, I'm paying $700 a month, and here's my repayment timeline. Want you to know this because it impacts our future choices. That is transparent, responsible behavior.
The red flag is lying about it, denying its existence, or becoming enraged when you ask about it. The numbers are secondary to the honesty. If they can't be honest about their past, they won't be honest about the challenges in your future. Okay, in this next section, we're moving into the territory where financial misalignment really hardens into power and control. We're talking about couples who have committed. They live together, they're married, they share assets. And here, the consequences of a red flag become so severely damaging to long-term well-being.
The stakes escalate dramatically because the deception is now happening inside a shared legal and emotional container. We move from risk to coercion. Let's start with an elevated version of that first flag. Financial secrecy and lying, high stakes, which a lot of financial counselors now call financial infidelity. Financial infidelity is any deceptive act regarding money between partners who have agreed to be mutually committed to financial transparency. It's often defined by the level of secrecy and the scale. This looks like whole hidden credit cards, loans taken out using the partner's information, or significant chunks of shared savings that are secretly used, maybe for gambling, investments, or separate spending. The discovery often happens accidentally. A stray bank statement tucked away, a large withdrawal notification that appears on a shared phone, or a collection agency calling for a debt you didn't know existed. The betrayal here is just profound because it violates the very foundation of the commitment.
It's a massive breach of trust, and the consequences just ripple out, impacting everything from your credit score to your ability to qualify for a home loan because their hidden debt becomes legally tangled with your life.
It removes the element of choice. You can't plan a future that's based on lies. If you discover $30,000 in debt you didn't know about, that doesn't just change your savings plan, it forces you to question the entire reality of your partnership.
The second major flag here is financial control. This is the one that really needs careful definition because sometimes budgeting and control can look similar from the outside.
They do, but the difference is consent and autonomy. Budgeting is mutual, control is unilateral. Financial control is when one partner restricts the other's freedom, safety, or ability to function using money as the lever. The goal is dependency.
What are the indicators of that kind of control?
One partner takes over all the money management, often under the guise of being the responsible one. All income goes into accounts only they can access. They handle all the mail and bills. The other partner has to ask for money, for groceries, for gas, for basic necessities, and is given a tight allowance. This dynamic is incredibly infantilizing. It treats the dependent partner like a child who cannot be trusted with funds. They have to justify every single purchase, often facing shame or criticism for spending $10 on lunch. This limits their mobility and confidence, making it exponentially harder for them to leave.
I've heard stories where the controlling partner monitors purchases so closely that the dependent partner starts hiding grocery receipts or lying about buying medication just to avoid a confrontation. That's the chilling effect. The controlling partner creates such a climate of fear and surveillance that the victim's only recourse is deception, which further fuels the controller's justification. See, I have to manage everything because you try to sneak around.
Yeah.
It's a self-perpetuating cycle of domination. And you mentioned a particularly brutal tactic, cutting off access to teach a lesson.
Yes, financial control can escalate into using money as a direct punishment. If the dependent partner steps out of line, or expresses a dissenting opinion, or gets into an argument, the controller might suddenly freeze their access to the shared funds. They might pay bills late on purpose just to cause stress, or even remove the dependent partner's name from bank accounts without notice. The message is crystal clear. Obedience equals access.
That is a massive escalation that absolutely crosses into abuse. Let's discuss the third serious red flag: financial gaslighting. We hear about emotional gaslighting a lot, but what does it look like when it's applied specifically to money?
Financial gaslighting is a really calculated form of psychological manipulation, where the abuser twists the facts about money to make the victim doubt their own memory, their own perception, or even their sanity. It's rooted in denial and projection. The scripts include insisting the victim is imagining charges on a bank statement, you must have clicked on something and forgotten, or denying shared conversations about loans or budgets, we never agreed to save for that trip, you must be making that up. Or blaming the victim for missing funds. You're the one who leaves the wallet out. If money is missing, it's because you aren't careful.
And the cumulative effect is that the victim loses confidence in their own financial judgment, which, again, just increases dependency on the controller.
It's incredibly effective because financial records can sometimes be confusing, and the controlling partner capitalizes on that confusion. They make the victim believe they are incapable of understanding basic math or basic financial safety, which keeps them reliant on the manipulator. They'll often use financial jargon or complexity just to confuse the victim further. And then we have the most serious category, which you mentioned. Using money as a punishment or weapon, which falls directly under financial abuse. When money is weaponized, the relationship is deeply unsafe. This goes beyond simple control. This includes direct threats. If you leave, I will make sure you have nothing. I'll stop paying the mortgage and ruin your credit. You won't be able to see the children if you take any money. It also includes actively running up debt in the partner's name, draining their savings, or sabotaging their ability to work, maybe by hiding their car keys before an interview or creating such conflict at home that they can't focus on their job. The objective is total immobilization and ensuring the victim has no exit strategy. We have to be absolutely clear here. If you are experiencing any of these patterns, control, gaslighting, or threats, this is not a relationship problem to be solved with better communication. This is a safety issue. Absolutely. If you feel trapped or scared or reliant on your partner for basic survival, the dynamic has moved beyond negotiation. Financial abuse is about power and ensuring that the victim cannot survive independently. You need to prioritize protection and support immediately. The love you feel does not make the behavior acceptable or safe.
Okay, this is the segment that moves us from recognition to active change. For those listeners who recognize yellow flags or maybe early red flags but feel generally safe, let's talk about concrete tools. Starting with conversation scripts. How do we even initiate a conversation when the other person is habitually defensive?
The key is to neutralize the conversation before it even starts. You have to avoid the word you and any language that sounds accusatory or like a character attack. We use the I feel I need framework. You state the behavior, the feeling it creates in you, and then the specific action you need going forward.
Can we run through some specific scenarios where this script would be useful?
Yeah, let's take the scenario of total secrecy and avoidance around bills. Instead of saying, you always avoid talking about money, which means you must be hiding debt.
Which is immediately going to put them on the defensive. Immediately. Instead, you try. I noticed that when I bring up our joint bills, the conversation shuts down pretty quickly. I feel anxious when I don't have a clear picture of our obligations because it impacts my ability to plan. I need us to dedicate 30 minutes every Sunday to review our accounts together.
I like that. It's so specific. 30 minutes every Sunday, which asks for a tangible commitment rather than some vague promise to be better.
Exactly. Or let's take the example of the constant borrowing and chaos. Instead of, you're always asking me for money and never paying me back and it's stressing me out.
When you ask to borrow money without a concrete plan to repay it, I feel destabilized and worried about my own budget. I need to set a firm boundary that I will no longer lend money outside of a shared, agreed-upon emergency fund. I am willing to help you find resources to manage your cash flow, but I cannot be your bank.
That is a fantastic way to set a boundary while still expressing support, but it clearly removes you from the role of financial manager or, personal lender. And the key action check here, as we mentioned earlier, is their response. Do they engage with curiosity? Oh, I didn't realize that made you feel anxious. I'm willing to try the Sunday meeting. That's a green flag. Or do they shut down? You're always causing drama. Why do we have to talk about this? That's a red flag. Okay, let's look at the highest risk conversation, refusing a co-signing request. How do we hold that boundary firmly without getting sucked into a guilt trip? You use a broken record technique, state the boundary simply, and tie it back to your long-term protection, not their worthiness. The script is, I care deeply about you and I want you to succeed, but I am not comfortable co-signing anything. I need to protect my credit and my financial future. If they push, but if you love me, you'd help me get this car, you just repeat, I love you and my boundary is firm. I will not be co-signing. This is a non-negotiable step for protecting my stability. You don't defend, you don't justify, you simply state and hold the boundary. Their attempt to push past that boundary is itself really important information about their level of respect for your self-protection.
Sticking with boundaries, let's talk about ensuring financial autonomy. This seems so essential, even in the healthiest relationships.
It is absolutely non-negotiable for safety. Every person in a relationship must maintain some form of financial autonomy. My recommendation is always the we account and the individual me account. The we account is for shared expenses, rent, utilities, groceries. Both partners contribute an agreed upon percentage or amount, and both partners have full visibility and access. The individual me account is a separate private account that each partner controls entirely. This money is their personal spending, personal savings, or buffer fund. It ensures that if the relationship suddenly ends, or if there's an emergency, neither partner is left financially stranded or dependent on the other's goodwill for basic expenses. It reduces the opportunity for coercive control.
That structure provides the required transparency for the partnership while safeguarding individual independence, which is just vital. Absolutely. Other healthy boundaries include agreeing that any single purchase over a certain dollar amount, say $200 or $500, has to be discussed by both partners first. And critically ensuring that both partners have access to the relevant financial documentation, not just one person. Okay, let's go back to the brave listener who realizes, I am the problem. I think this needs the deepest discussion because this isn't just about changing a habit. It's often about addressing deep fear or compulsive behavior or trauma that results in lying or controlling others.
Yes, and if you are recognizing this in yourself, that self-awareness is your first green flag. It takes immense courage to admit this. The path to change is not easy, but it is necessary for a healthy relationship. Step 1 is radical honesty. Tell the truth. You have to choose to stop hiding, even before you have a perfect recovery plan. The deception must end. Instead of waiting for your partner to find the hidden debt or discover the controlling behavior, you bring it into the light. The script is key. I have not been honest about our money, and I know I've caused instability and pain. You deserve the full truth, and I need to come clean. I am committed to fixing this, and I want us to find a counselor together.
The immediate accountability is what proves the willingness to change, rather than just remorse over being caught.
Precisely. Step 2. Get external professional support. These patterns, lying, hiding, fear-based control, are rarely solved with a simple apology or a self-help book. You need professional intervention. That might mean individual therapy to understand the root cause of the behavior, fear, trauma, addiction, and couples counseling to rebuild trust. If there is compulsive spending or gambling involved, seeking support groups is crucial. You cannot rely on your partner to be your therapist or your accountability buddy. And step 3, match apology with action and respect their reaction. Apologies are just words. Changes demonstrate behavior over time. The actions include sharing all passwords and account information, committing to transparency, seeking counseling, and maintaining those new boundaries. And crucially, you must respect your partner's right to be angry or distrustful or hurt. You cannot rush the healing process, and you must accept that the consequences of your actions might mean they need distance or separate accounts. Your job is to focus on your own recovery, not on controlling their emotional response.
That's such a full spectrum approach, and I think that acknowledgement that the fixing phase is about accountability, not emotional control, is vital. Finally, let's talk about protection if unsafe. For the listener who is facing financial abuse and is scared to even have a conversation, what are the silent protective steps they can take right now?
If safety is compromised, your actions must be discreet. The goal is to build an independent life raft without alerting the person who controls your resources. First, gather and secure information. Quietly determine what accounts are in your name, what debts are in your name, what are the balances and contact info for these creditors. Collect copies of legal documents, birth certificate, ID, passport, social security card, insurance information. If the controlling partner hides them, you need a plan to secure copies or replacement documents. Second, establish independent banking. Open a new bank account in your name only at a completely different bank or credit union that your partner would not check. If possible, redirect a portion of your income, no matter how small, into that separate account. Even having $100 saved that they don't know about can provide crucial mobility. Third, build your support network. Break the isolation. Confide in one trusted friend, family member, or professional counselor. Isolation is the greatest tool of the abuser. You need external eyes and ears to validate your reality and help you plan your next steps. Utilize local resources, domestic violence hotlines, or legal aid. They specialize in helping victims of financial abuse and can guide you.
The emphasis on a separate bank is so important. That small reserve of money is often the only thing standing between the victim and physical safety.
It is often the key to survival. We've covered such a vast range of scenarios, from messy habits to full financial abuse. The million-dollar question really remains: how does the listener know if their situation is salvageable through boundary setting and communication, or if they need to prioritize walking away? It comes down to two things: pattern and willingness. Workable situations, even if they involve big mistakes like major debt or a past spending problem, are characterized by the partner demonstrating a willingness to change. They show up, they are honest about the numbers, they attend counseling, and their apology is consistently matched by demonstrated action over a long period of time. They share information, they respect your boundaries, and they take responsibility without blaming others.
So if they mess up, but they immediately say, I messed up, I'm scared, I need professional help, and I'll share all my bank statements with you, that's a signal that the integrity is still salvageable.
Yes, they might be flawed, but they are operating in good faith and with respect for the partnership. Step back or walk away situations are defined by the lack of willingness and the persistence of the harmful pattern. This includes persistent, repeated lying even after confrontation, secret debt, financial infidelity, or hidden gambling that continues, an absolute refusal to engage in serious money talks or seek external help, and critically, using money to control, punish, threaten, or trap you. If you feel unsafe, trapped, or constantly confused by their financial narrative, the pattern of abuse or disrespect is the dominant force. So the key test is really, do their actions over time match their apology?
Exactly. If they apologize on Tuesday and then continue the manipulative behavior on Wednesday, the apology is merely a control tactic to get you to calm down and stop questioning them. You have to trust the pattern of behavior over the words of apology.
For listeners who are single right now but are recovering from a history of ignoring these red flags, what standards should they be setting for the future? Use your hard-won wisdom to create your own non-negotiable green flag checklist. This list should be defined before you meet the next charming person. It should include things like, I will only date people who are willing to discuss debt and income openly by the third month. I will never co-sign anything for a partner. My partner must respect my financial boundaries and never use shame or guilt to pressure me into spending. You are defining what respect looks like in financial terms. You're allowed to require a financially mature, transparent partner.
That turns painful lessons into protection for the future. Let's recap the core truths we covered today before we leave you with a challenge. We established that money behavior is really about trust, safety, and power. We discussed early signs like secrecy, chronic chaos, and pressure to overspend. We identified severe flags like financial infidelity, control, gaslighting, and the use of money as a weapon. And we armed you with scripts and boundaries to move toward clarity and self-protection. And my final reinforcement would be this. If you feel uneasy, you are not being too picky. You are allowed to want honesty and shared responsibility. You are allowed to protect your credit and your future.
If the relationship is preventing you from having either of those things, it's not a partnership, and you deserve better.
Yeah.
Don't navigate this alone. Seek out a trusted source of support.
That's so powerful. Let's finish with a 3-step challenge for you, a concrete action you can take this week to apply this knowledge.
Absolutely.
Reflect and write. Take 15 minutes and privately write down every money moment in your current or most recent serious relationship that made you feel uneasy, ashamed, pressured, or threatened. Just get it out of your head.
Sort and categorize. Look at that list. Which items are messy but honest and need a conversation? Those are your yellow flags. And which items are patterns of active lying, hiding, controlling, or punishing? Those are your red flags. And step 3, choose one next step. Commit to one single action based on that sorting. If it's a yellow flag, plan a calm conversation using the I feel I need script. If it's a red flag, choose to talk to a trusted friend or professional first and quietly secure one piece of financial documentation. Focus only on that one step this week.
Reflect. Sort. Choose one next step. That breaks down the overwhelming nature of these problems into something so manageable.
Exactly. Clarity precedes action, and small steps accumulate into big change.
Thank you so much for this crucial deep dive. Your wisdom at this intersection of psychology and finance is just invaluable.
My pleasure. Remember, you are allowed to want both love and financial safety. You are not asking for too much.
You are not asking for too much. We will be back next week for another deep dive. Until then, protect your boundaries and trust your intuition.